Welcome back to Victory Wednesday or Thursday if you're listening to this podcast. Northern Steel episode 52, the Mike Webster episode. Actually, I don't think they've given out a number after Mike Webster retired. I don't think another person has worn 52. Welcome to episode 52. Here's my co-host, Chris. Chris, say a little something.
Hello.
Yeah, it's
great.
It is
good to be back.
We're back.
Oh.
We're back. Don't want to have Chris talk too much. You don't want to stress those beautiful vocal cords out. But we're going to talk a little bit about the Steelers' first preseason game, a little bit about training camp this week, and then previewing this week's preseason game, week 2, against the Buffalo Bills. Now, I don't know if you saw the first preseason game, boys, girls, ladies, gents, but the Steelers won, and they won handedly.
Yes,
Chris,
they did.
Why don't you tell the people some of the things that you remember from that game and some of the things that you loved about watching in that game?
Well, there's so many things to state from that game itself and so many great things that there are to touch up on. I mean, first off, let's just start with this first team offense that we had out there. Kenny Pickett came into this game on a mission, all right? He went in there slinging the football. This is a brand new Kenny Pickett from what we saw last season. He was throwing it so hard. Every throw was on a rope to the receiver. You can definitely tell his arm power just improved immensely from last season. It's all that work he's putting in. So the offense was clicking on all cylinders. We were moving the ball. And especially that strike to George Pickens to end the drive for that touchdown. What a beautiful play that was. And going in for 6, couldn't have asked for a better first drive from that first team offense.
Beautiful throw, beautiful plays. I was erect. It was a great time in Steeler Nation to be watching that first drive. 6 for 7, 70 yards. I mean, the key word there, like Chris said, with his arm strength is velocity. This boy was throwing the ball with some heat.
You look at plays from last season to even this first preseason game, and there's a noticeable difference on how hard Kenny Pickett can throw the football right now, and it is so awesome, and I just am so excited to see more of it. So literally Saturday cannot come soon enough.
And big test this weekend too. And training camp is still going on, and we'll go back to some more of Chris's thoughts on this game. But I have been hearing that offense has not been looking good this week, looking very sluggish, looking very confused, looking like they don't know what to do. So we'll see how Saturday goes. This is not going well. I hear Kenny's playing all right, but the whole offense as a whole looks pretty rough. So we'll see how Saturday goes. Hopefully they can turn around for game time at least. But anyways, Chris, back to week 1 against the Bucks. What else did you like?
I just want to give a shout out also to all of our rookies that week 1 of the preseason. And they all looked fantastic. They fit into their position so well, and they all made splash plays to all the ones who did participate. Unfortunately, Joey Porter did not play due to injury. So that was, still have yet to see what he can do, and excited to see how he's going to play this next week now that he's back and practicing. But just going down the list, right? So we got Keanu Benton, who showed up in a big way in preseason game 1. There was a drive where I'm pretty sure he contributed to every single play on their 3 and out. It was unreal. Yep. He created a wall. He got into the backfield, tackles for loss constantly. I think Keanu Benton is going to find his way to that starting spot come the start of the season. And I think if he plays anywhere like he did this first preseason game, you're going to be hearing a lot about him. And I don't know, our run defense is going to be something to, like, the talk of the town for sure.
He was the best defensive player on the field. He had 3 tackles, 1 tackle for loss. He was dominant. Just flat up, straight up, flat out, dominant. He was, like Chris said, consistently pushing into the backfield of the offense, causing disruptions. I mean, we were hyped watching that. Watching
Yeah.
95 constantly in the backfield on that. And he did hurt his ankle in that game, which was unfortunate that they had to take him out. He has not, he has been in pads the past 2 days. He's not actually practiced in full yet, but look for him to hopefully be able to play against the Bills. And, if not, it is what it is, because after seeing what we saw, I'd rather have him healthy than to force him out there.
Absolutely. And then moving on, you have Mount Washington himself. And Darnell, to me, in this first game, wasn't necessarily more of a receiving threat, which Dom and I never really thought that was going to be the case. However, I think where he really stood out was in his blocking game, being that sixth lineman is what they've been calling him. And gosh, he was so dominant. There's so many highlights of him literally pancaking defenders and opening up lanes, like getting out there, especially on the Calvin Austin jet sweep. Like, he was the first person out there to create a big impact block. And, they got out there. I think he did end up making one catch for about 12 yards. But that's kind of how I expect
9
him.
yards.
9 yards? But that's kind of how I expect him to be this season. Like I said before, he's not going to be a high volume guy catching the football, but I do think he's going to be more of that, run heavy blocking dude, just because he's so big and strong, but he's also going to be that red zone threat because he's so tall. Literally, there's a play today where he made a really impressive one-handed grab in the corner of the end zone. I believe it was a fade route that he ran. Obviously it was just practice, no defenders, but at the same time, it says a lot if you can have a guy that big, be that athletic, and be able to make such big plays like that. So, Mount Washington, I'm going to stick with that name. I'm not going to give him Darnell. He's a mountain. That dude is gigantic.
I think we'll be able to watch him more as the games go on, as the season goes on, be able to run routes and catch passes, because yes, he only did one catch for 9 yards, but as we've seen in practice, he can create separation. He can run routes, but I think he will be used in the red zone, like Chris has mentioned before in the past, and he is a very good run blocker. Now, he did have one bad block to a run to the outside to the left, but then we saw him on multiple occasions destroy the entire line that he was on the sides to free up some good running lanes and some good holes. So that was really good. And I want to point out, when I talked about the route running, there was a point when Mason Rudolph was in the game where he did run an up and out, or like a post, and the pocket was already collapsing.
It was
and
open.
Mason folded under pressure too fast, and I think he got sacked potentially.
I do want to say,
if he would have stayed in the pocket, though, he could have thrown it to Darnell there. So.
Oh, absolutely, he could have. But I do want to say, on that play, I am 100% blaming Kendrick Green on that, because technically, even though it was Broderick Jones' guy, if you watch that, the dude literally screened Broderick Jones on that play. Absolutely. But speaking of Broderick, I'd say a pretty solid performance for him. Obviously, his pass pro, they need a little bit of work, but coming into that game, you kind of saw a little bit of everything out of Jones, right? I think he showed areas of where he excels at, and the reasons why we drafted him, because he's big and strong and he's mobile. And obviously, I think those are big things to have for our left tackle position. And then you just saw, a little bit of rookie mistakes in there. Some guys would get through kind of later in the game. I don't know if he was just tired and fatigued, but obviously that can't happen throughout the season. You can't be letting up these late game pressures, late game sacks, letting guys in there, and he's someone who, especially this week, seeing a lot of reports, he's getting out there, he's practicing. Him and Dan Moore are constantly helping each other out, trying to, be better. And so I really like that relationship that they're building. But I want to say Broderick Jones, I'd say did a pretty decent job week one.
Yeah, I wrote down solid. Very solid.
Yeah.
He didn't give up a lot of pressure. He did late in the game, maybe because of stamina, maybe not used to playing that full game yet. But because he had some ugly reps towards the end, but He played a lot, pretty much held his own the whole time, didn't really give up that much pressure. But at the same, as solid as he was, I would say that the key thing is that he wasn't dominant yet. So
No.
was there a clear reason to start him over Dan Moore right now? I would say no, which is fine. We have talked about that consistently and a lot. And it's one of those things where do you throw him into the fire by playing him against Nick Bosa and Myles Garrett first in the season, or do you kind of let Dan Moore do his thing and maybe work Broderick in there later towards the year? So, but I thought he played solid. I think that's another. I mean, all these players are. That's why we shared the list last week. All these players are people to keep looking forward to every game to see how they keep contributing, hopefully improving, and getting better. Yeah, I see you're just kind of going through the rookie list. I was kind of hoping you'd go through the top plays of the game, but feel free to keep going on.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. No, absolutely.
Okay.
I just I feel like we got to highlight these players because they're obviously highly anticipated, right? We
will,
drafted
yeah.
them. They're the new guys.
Yeah. We will. I also have the whole list of players to look out for us. I was gonna run through all those, but yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's only really one more guy on my list that I think is even worth mentioning. In fact, I think he's the
That's
guy
true.
who did the best out of our entire rookie class last week.
Not true. Benton did, but go on. This guy was second best.
Okay, come on. I mean, Nick Herbig, he made a name for himself last week.
He did.
I mean,
He definitely did.
everything that you read about, every tweet that we saw about how he's working with TJ, getting that ghost move. Now he's working with Alex Highsmith, trying to perfect the spin move. He's leaning in on the veterans, and it's really showcasing it, especially in this first game. This dude was on fire. I mean, I, for one thing, have always been really big on Nick Herbig, but something that always concerned me a little bit is like he's a smaller guy. He's not super big by any means. That did not matter week one. He's pushing over guys. He's getting past them left and right. I think he had, 1.5 sacks last week?
He had 3 tackles, 1.5 sacks, 1 tackle for loss.
That's fantastic. I mean, he definitely got in there.
And also only played 14 snaps.
That's insane.
He was. I don't know why it took him so long to get Nick in the lineup. And I don't know why they didn't play him that much either. But for playing 14 snaps and having 3 tackles and 1.5 sacks and then 1 tackle for loss, I mean, he definitely made his mark quickly. And he was in the backfield the whole time.
If us getting TJ Highsmith and now Herbig into that rotation, this is something Dom and I have talked about for the last couple of years, especially when we had like Gordon, in our rotation and, other guys as well. We were just like, dude, is this it? Are we finally going to have a good rotation? Now's the time because he has shown it. I know it's preseason and I know they're probably weren't against the best guys, but if he keeps improving and doing the things that he is, I don't know what you do as an offense if you have 3 studly guys coming in there to rush you. So I want to give my shout out to Nick Herbig on last week's performance. I think he did fantastic. Yes, it's a toss up between him and Benton because Benton did really, really well. I do not want to discredit him, but for me, I'm going to give my rookie of the game to Herbig.
Who's Gordon?
Melvin Gordon?
No, Melvin Ingram.
Ingram, my bad. Whoops. Gordon's the running back.
I was stuck on that the entire time. You were like, when we had the backup of Gordon, I was like, who's Gordon?
Yeah, my bad. I got those guys mixed up a few times. Melvin Ingram, they share the first name. It's fine. It is what it is.
Yeah, that's fine.
They're the same person.
We'll go through some more players there. I know there's one more in the draft class we can talk about, but if you want to keep going about the rest of the game, Chris, feel free to do so.
Dude, I'll just kind of say broad statements and we can kind of touch on the guys that you said, but like, preseason's always a lot of fun because obviously we can watch all these guys, all the new free agents, rookies, just kind of see how they play. And we can also watch our depth. And I think that's something that we look forward to the most is because history shows whenever we've encountered injuries or things like that. I know it's always next man up, but next man up has always been a Walmart employee for us for the most part. So, it's just exciting to see these guys and see how they're able to play. And I'd say things were explosive throughout the whole game. Maybe they slowed down a little bit at the end, especially getting fourth string Tanner Morgan in there for offense, and even, just defensive four stringers. It's not going to be the prettiest ball ever, but the fact that we got through 3 solid quarters of explosive plays, showcasing people's, star qualities and attributes. I was very, very happy on both sides of the ball with starters, backups, and third stringers. I feel like everyone did a phenomenal job last week.
Yeah, I think that's something I was saying too when I was talking about this earlier this week to some other Steeler fans. Was I was pretty happy with everything I saw, everything I wanted to see, everything I was kind of paying attention to that we talked about to look out forward to. In a general sense, I was overall left positive, in a happy mood about what I saw happen on the field. And hopefully that continues to keep improving and keep getting better as the season goes on. But yeah, definitely agree. Do you want me to go into individual players from the list and kind of, it'll kind of refresh people about who are watching here, and we can talk about what I saw from those games?
Have at it.
So we talked about most of the rookies. Chris mentioned JPJ did not play because he was injured. We found out right before kickoff, which is very disheartening and sad, but he should be back this week. Spencer Anderson rounds out our draft class from this past year, and he played very late in the game. He played pretty much every position. That was the whole point of why they drafted him. Very versatile. He was pretty hard to keep track of. Now, when I don't hear his name and I don't hear about how bad it can be, that's a good thing sometimes when it comes to linemen. As I always say that about cornerbacks too. If you don't hear their name, sometimes it's a good thing. So I didn't really hear a lot from Spencer Anderson, but there was an article today that his coaches love him. So
I love what you said too, because I didn't hear anything about JPJ. So he must have did really well sitting on the bench, and everything. Yeah.
Moving on to the free agent acquisitions we had this year. Pat Pete did not play. A lot of the main Pro Bowl starters, especially on defense, didn't play. Nate Herbig, he moved around a lot, kind of. Played center, played some guard, both side guard. Didn't notice anything bad from him, so that's a plus in my book. Nothing egregious from him so far. Cole Holcomb, we talked about we wanted to see all the linebackers play. Cole Holcomb actually played a lot with the first team defense. He had 2 tackles, and he was kind of all over the field in the run game, in the pass game. That's kind of what we had heard from training camp. He wasn't as impactful as I would hoped he'd be, but he wasn't terrible either. He was definitely very solid in communicating. But I do remember he did miss one really bad tackle in the hole one time. That was the running lane came right at him and he missed that one. But at the same time, I can't say I was too disappointed with what I saw yet from Cole Holcomb. Landon Roberts only had 2 snaps, and so he had 1 tackle with his 2 snaps. I wrote down, honestly, didn't notice him on the field, and that was because he only had 2 snaps.
Yep.
Just to round out the linebackers, Quan Alexander had a great game. He had 2 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss, and that dude was flying. He should have had 2 tackles for a loss, but they called the penalty on that, which was a pretty bogus penalty. And he was just making plays. He was fast. He was not afraid to dive into the pile, to create a blocking of a run lane, to create disruption, to cause panic from the linemen and the run team and everybody involved. And we've been missing that for a while. And I really, really, really hope that can happen all year, because after watching players like, unfortunately, Devin Bush, who kind of sit back on their heels and flat-footed and wait for the place to come to them, it was really nice to watch a linebacker again just blitz in there with no regards for their safety or health or their well-being and try to make a play on the opposing ball carrier. Who else we got? We got Isaac Sumalo. He only played the first series with the first team offense with Kenny Pickett. And I mean, they got a touchdown. So what more do you want from me? That side of the pocket was clean. Nothing more to ask right now. So, well, I'll put some more notes as he keeps playing some more. Braden Fehoko had one pass defense. So Fehoko is someone in training camp we've heard a lot about of him, like closing up run lanes and bowling over under linemen. And I was very excited. But now after watching this Bucks game and hearing more about how training camp's going, I think I'm just more worried about our linemen than I am more excited about Fehoko's talent. because they're still talking about Fehoko destroying our linemen this week in training camp, but Fehoko was getting absolutely demolished against the Bucks. He's getting pushed back 5 to 6 yards down the field consistently. He was never in the running to make a play at the line of scrimmage. I'm hoping that can change. He definitely needs to bounce back this week against the Bills. Keanu Neal did not play. Braden Mann punted the whole time. Presley Harvin didn't play. 6 punts, 45.7 yard average, long of 51. I wrote down, this is what I wrote. Am I impressed? Is this good? Time will tell. I don't know yet. Allen Robinson, I wrote down he was there. He played the first series, no targets. Shannon Sullivan, 2 tackles. I didn't see anything egregious from Shannon Sullivan, so I think he played solid. Played slot pretty well. Hakeem Butler, he had 1 catch for 17 yards and 1 tackle on special teams. He played with Tanner Morgan mostly, so he didn't get to do much, but he did have a drop. It wasn't really that impressive. Hopefully he can do more this coming week against the Bills. Marcus Golden, the other outside linebacker, because this is just talking about rotation depth on the outside position and rotational pieces. And he had 2 tackles. He didn't play very long, but I thought he was okay. I thought he was pretty solid. He didn't make a giant impact, but I mean, I noticed him there. He didn't make a giant impact, but we didn't have anybody in our starting secondary, really, and Baker was just kind of dicing him up at that point. So, I don't know. I thought he did okay. I'm excited to see more from him as well, too. But I still think it's a solid rotational piece to have. Do you have any thoughts about some of those free agents, Chris, before I move on to the next one and I keep talking this whole time?
No, you're kind of hitting the, nail on the head there. I think all your notes are pretty exact to what I'm thinking. I mean, heck, we watched the game together, didn't we?
We sure did. Held hands.
All the time.
Held hands the whole time.
Snuggled.
Maybe nuzzled.
Oh.
We ooh-wooed a bit. You football fans know what that is?
And canceled. There it is.
On to the 2022 draft class. Chris talked about it, the man, the myth, the legend, both of them actually, Kenny Pickett and George Pickens. We don't have to go over it again. They were great. They had a great game. I wrote down for Kenny, quote, in my quotes, you can quote me on this, new media, news media. This boy's got some zip, baby. Comfortable, command, confident, easy, breezy, cover girl. George Pickens, 1 catch, 33 yards, 1 touchdown. He took 1 slant, catch to the crib. Can you say yak? I can. We're hoping for more of that this year. Next up there from the class is DeMarvin Leal. He had 5 tackles, 1 tackle for loss. He was a really good gang tackler, in my opinion. He was really good. Like, he wasn't dominant on his own. He was never back there. I think he was back there. He caused his own disruption on his own. Well, I think he caused, on a tackle for loss. He had his 1 tackle for loss. That was his, you're right, he did have a half sack. I didn't put that on there. But he was dominant on his own, breaking through the line to stop the running back in the backfield. But for the most part, he was just really good at plugging the gaps and stopping where the run schemes are going to go and closing down the gaps for the quarterback so someone else could get in there. And he wasn't pushed around. I think that was the best part. Where like Fehoko was pushed 6 yards in the field, DeMarvin wasn't pushed around. So I would say keep going. I'm excited to keep seeing more of him. He wasn't super dominant, but he was very, very, very solid as a person in there to hold the line at the line of scrimmage. Then you got my boy, Mr. Roadrunner himself, Calvin Austin. 2 carries, 23 yards, 2 receptions, 73 yards, 1 touchdown. Let me take you back to last week. during the podcast, I said my prediction: Calvin Austin gets a jet sweep and a deep bomb. And what do you get, Chris?
A jet sweep and a deep bomb, baby.
That's right. And this boy is fast. We know he's fast. He is fast. The jet sweeps were really good. The deep bomb was even better. Got separation just based on speed. Just ran by that man and left him in the dust. Welcome back to the NFL, Calvin Austin. It was great to see you play. I'm excited to see more things that you can do in the future. And there was and he could have had more catches if Mitch Trubisky's bum ass didn't throw a pick to Cody White and threw to Calvin Austin over the middle.
That is so true. Also, we do have to give a little bit of love to the man who threw that beautiful ball. He does not get a lot of love often. In fact, he gets so much hate. He's like the Rebecca Black of the Steelers.
Whoa. And they put on Friday.
They did. Wow, what a quinkadink. Mason Rudolph with the beautiful pass. He saw, rushers come at him, literally in his face, about to tackle him, and he just lobbed this beautiful pass right to Calvin Austin.
Yep.
Say less, give him credit because that was great. To all you who are like, oh my God, Mason sucks, whatever. Listen, he's our third string quarterback, and I would much rather have him at third string than anybody else. So,
especially in Tanner Morgan, who I'll get to in a second. Connor Hayward, 1 carry for 5 yards at the halfback fullback position. He did play some fullback, and he had 2 receptions for 34 yards. He was our second leading receiver in the game. And he picked up right where he left off last year. I'm talking dependable Connor Hayward. You cannot keep this man off the field. I do not care about how many tight ends we have on here. This dude is dependable, and he makes catches in crucial situations. I think both his catches came on 3rd down, and they were 3rd and longs. I mean, the dude just makes plays. He's a football player. I like what I see from Connor Hayward. I like him. He's great. Last but not least in that draft class is Mark Robinson. He had 6 tackles. I wrote down, sure he made tackles. You could tell my disdain. I don't hate Mark Robinson, but a lot of people hype him up a lot, and I'm not there yet. He's got a lot to learn. I said, yep, he made tackles. Well, only one sticks out to me as good tracking. I remember he tracked the guy to the sideline really, really well. That was a good tackle. He didn't do bad at all, but he wasn't amazing either.
He's raw. I think that's the best way to put it. Mark Robinson is raw. And I mean, the Steelers see that. I think they see the potential. We all see the potential in Mark Robinson. The dude is, can bench press a car and can lay the boom for sure. But if we can coach him up and get him to be that stud linebacker that everyone wants him to be, I'm all for it. I'm just saying he has a lot of rawness to him in his game. It can be developed. Just got to keep hoping.
Definitely. From the 2021 draft class, Najee, I have on here because we're still trying to see how he does with this new line and how he can keep improving. He played in the first series only. He had 1 reception for -1 yards. Kenny's worst decision of the night. Terrible to throw it to him as the whole team tackled him. And then he didn't run the ball at all. So that was it. So not much to say. I'm going to skip this person. Next is Isaiah Loudermilk. He had 3 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss. Very solid. I'm excited about the depth that he provides. He was kind of like Leal, but a little bit less in terms of pushing the line, but he held his ground. I thought it was very solid. Trey Norwood didn't play. Presley Harvin didn't play. Back to the other player on my list, the guy who we were excited about last week, who just shot our hopes and dreams right in the freaking head. It is Mr. Kendrick Green, who did not play fullback, who did not play in the backfield. He played center the entire time, and he was absolutely horrendous at center. What else is new?
I just don't know how one person.
Bro, hold on. I'm allergic to his play. Oh God, I'm allergic to this man. Go on.
God, I just don't know how a person can literally play college ball, be recognized for his play at the position enough to be drafted in the 3rd round, and be that bad. Like, listen, I've seen busts before, but like, they'll make a play occasionally, but they just don't live up to their draft hype or like the positional needs. Maybe if KG was like an undrafted, like a guy who came during a Steelers workout one time, who just happened to make the team, who was the son of Art Rooney, because they're just like, hey, give him a chance or whatever. But he's not that.
He should have went undrafted.
Gosh dang it. He should have went undrafted. There's so many better centers in that entire draft class. We passed up on him. But you know what? God, it's just disappointing. This dude can't block. He gets pushed to the ground immediately. He screens our own players. That bad snap that he had? Dude, I was so beside myself in that moment. I said, get this man out of here or get him in the backfield, because that's the only place where I want to see him is running the ball, because he can't mess that up, can he?
He caused 3 negative plays back to back to back. I believe he had a holding, then he had the fumble, and then he let up a sack. And I was like, brother, get this man off the field.
Listen, if the Steelers do not give him a chance and put him at fullback, he will not be on this roster going into the season.
No chance.
My word. I'm not even trying to be mean or anything. I'm just saying, like, he does not deserve a spot playing the way he does. If we get him at fullback when he weighs 300 pounds, sure, yeah, it's an easy transition. I think that's a great move. He's not going to be on the team if he stays at center. So your move, Steelers, but he is a bad, bad man, and I don't mean that in a positive way at all.
No, not at all. Well said. The next draft class is 2020. Yes, we're still looking at 2020 draft class. Yes, we only have 2 players from that draft class, and one of them is really good. So we're not talking about him. We're talking about Anthony McFarland Jr. And this man went off, baby. 3 carries, 18 yards, 1 touchdown. His touchdown was a 14-yard scamper to the house. 1 reception, 5 yards. My running back 3. Easy 14-yard touchdown. Let's see more.
Absolutely. I couldn't say it better myself. And I know you were like literally like, that is Dom's guy. For anyone who cares or is like, hey, who's one of Dom's favorite players? I put Amac up there immediately. He's been rooting for him since day one.
I just think he brings a lot to the table. He's not going to play a lot. That's fine. I don't think he's as bad as for the lack of playing time he's received.
But man,
that's what I think.
But man, he had that breakaway speed. God, that was a beautiful play, wasn't it? Going to the outside.
Sure was.
There's nobody catching him. Nobody at all.
As soon as he got to the outside, I was like, that's done. Touchdown. Easy. Done.
Easy.
Last but not least, on the players to look out for are our UDFAs or our randos, for people who just got signed from someplace, who knows where. We got Tanner Morgan out of U of M, Skiuma. More like Skew, God, Jesus Christ. He was 5 for 8, 36 yards, and a pick. Played for too damn long. He had more snaps in this preseason game than he's ever had in practice. So it was a rough time for him. Look, I'm not hating on him. Just a rough time. Rough game for him. The funny thing about this, though, if you guys were watching the Bucs game, it was Bucs announcers, because this played in Tampa, and they were like, man, this defense has really come alive since Tanner Morgan came in the game. Yeah, God, I hope so. Jesus Christ. I'd hope they'd play better. You also got David Perales, number 40. He had 1 tackle. He played with the quote-unquote ones, but probably shouldn't have. He provided some pressure twice. He wasn't that bad, but I'm definitely looking for more from him to kind of put more on his resume as we keep going, because these guys trying to make the team. Because we also have Quincy Roche on the outside as well, trying to make the team. Kenny Robinson, he had 4 tackles. I didn't really notice him, but the secondary was getting lit up all day. Madre Harper, he had 3 tackles, 1 pass defense. See above note, as in I didn't notice him, and secondary was getting lit up. Luke, how do you say his name? Barku?
Sure.
I don't know, brother. I wrote down, this is what I wrote, in quotes. No stats. Did he play? Who knows? I don't know if he played. Uh, Pierre, James Pierre, been on our team for a while. That boy got lit up. I think he gave up 6 catches for like 90-some yards, perfect passer rating. Not great for him. Not looking good for our backup pass defenders. Should have signed Marcus Peters when we had the chance. Jalen Warren, last one on the list. 3 carries, 13 yards. Didn't play much because they know he good. Only bad play was not chipping the linebacker, which he normally does on a pass play, and then not turning around to catch the ball from KP in said pass play. But made his was really good at creating his own yards like he normally is. Dude's a beast, like he always is. But those are how those guys did this past week. Those are guys to keep looking out for. And a name I didn't put on here, and I probably still not going to, is of a guy who has been doing well in that game and in training camp, is Elijah Riley. He's with the team last year. I would say to continue looking out for him in the safety slot cornerback spot because this dude keeps making plays. Picked off ball today, I believe, or maybe yesterday with Mitch Trubisky. So keep looking out for Elijah Riley as well.
All right, Dom. So obviously that was a great assessment of everybody that we had to touch up on. Obviously, we could keep going back in draft classes, probably back to 2008, but we're not going to do that because we have things to do, people to see. But I'm going to throw something your way, kind of make you think on your feet a little bit. But I want to discuss the winners and losers of the Steelers' first preseason game. I want to limit you to 3 on both sides. So 3 for winners, 3 for losers. Who do you got? And maybe a brief why.
Oh, okay. Offense winners. Here you go. Put this in your butt.
Only 3.
Keep it in.
Only pick 3.
Yeah, I got it. Kenny, for sure. We wanted him to be efficient in scoring his first drive. He did. Scored a touchdown. Looked confident, looked efficient. That's a winner. Number 2 is Calvin Austin. We were excited to see him play. Had some good jet sweeps. Had the deep bomb. That's definitely 3 for sure. Or 2 for sure. Whatever I said. And the last player, I gotta say, man, on the offense.
It doesn't have to be offense. It could be offense or defense.
Oh, wait, you said 3 total?
Yep, 3 total.
Oh, shoot. Okay, no. Then I'm gonna do defense. And I'm gonna do, oh, God. Okay, I can do 3 on defense, to be honest.
That's not the rules. Just 3 winners of the entire Steeler team that first preseason game. We could be here all day if we wanted to name all the winners and losers.
Fine. I'll do Keanu. There's some Moreland. Keanu played a great game. I think he really showed people that he could start on the D line, and if he's causing pressure like that and disruption like that on a line that is going to feature Cam Hayward, hopefully Larry Ogunjobi, who dude's in a goddamn walking boot again, and TJ and Highsmith, I mean,
come on.
The gloves are off, man. All right, 3 losers. You want them?
Sure, or do you want me to give you my winners first?
Oh, yeah, you do your winners.
All right, so my winners, you actually took a couple of them, so I don't know how much I want to do that. So I'll switch it up a little bit. My first winner of the game is Quan Alexander. I think that dude was electric, man. He was all over the field. He's exactly what we have been missing at that middle linebacker position. He had a horrible call put on him, but a great tackle in the open field. It was stupid, like unnecessary roughness or some BS call. The refs are in preseason too. We all have to remember that. So they're not making the right calls. But Quan Alexander definitely making his presence known. I will steal and say Calvin Austin. That finally we get him back. Finally we get to see that breakaway speed and his presence in the game. God damn, he just left that dude in the dirt. It was a beautiful play. Honestly, amazing. I did have Benton, but I'm actually going to give and spread my love back to the offense, and we're going to go with Ant Mac. Just because he did have that great of a game. He had that one long run. He did only have 3 carries, but he had a 6-yard average with a touchdown, that 14-yard sprint out. So very impressive. I'm excited to see more of him. Those are my winners of the first preseason game. On to the losers.
Kind of surprised you didn't say Nick Herbig. Oh well.
I already boasted about him enough. I feel like people get annoyed about it, so I could only
All
pick
right,
three.
my losers. Easiest losers. Good luck finding three better losers than this, Chris. This guy's a loser. He's the biggest loser I've ever seen. This is Kendrick
So,
Green, number 1 on the board. Bro can't play football. Don't know what he's doing here. Number 2 is James Pierre. Don't mind James Pierre, but he gave a perfect pass rating. Boy's getting cooked all night. I really hope he can improve because our depth in the cornerback area is looking really bad after Corey Trice went down. And my third loser has to be Mitch Trubisky, who went 1 for 4 with a pick. And the pick he did was, I get it, you got to go for the deep shot. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get more splash plays. But the better play, like I mentioned earlier, was Calvin Austin on a I guess deep slant, deep crosser over the middle, and with his speed, I mean, who knows what's going to happen with that speed? He already had a lot of separation on that. So those are definitely my 3 losers. Mitch has been kind of up and down in practice. Mason actually kind of sucks in practice, but he had a really good game in preseason. It'll be interesting to see if Mitch keeps sucking in preseason, what the depth chart could look like. Hopefully he doesn't. I like Mitch, good guy, but definitely the loser from that game.
absolutely. I could not agree more. My losers for the game, I do have to shockingly agree with you, but Kendrick Green is the top of that list. And I don't think that needs an explanation. Second on my list is actually Kendrick Green as well.
Surprise.
Yep.
Surprise
He
pick.
just, he wasn't really doing it for me. Realistically, he
Right.
just played really badly. And third
I get that.
was Kendrick Green again.
Sleeper.
really-
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
yeah. No, realistically, my losers aside from Kendrick Green, I did put Cody White on there. I just feel like
Yeah.
there were a couple plays that that interception that came on Mitch Trubisky going deep that it could have been fought for a little more, maybe brought down by him. There, and then also the play when right before halftime when he was trying to get out of bounds and make a play, and then he got tackled in bounds, and we actually lost about 10 seconds off of that play. Just not his best move. I see
No.
what he was trying to do. He's trying to be AB-esque, but just not there. And I'm going to pick the other Steeler quarterback, Tanner Morgan. That was just really painful to watch. Granted, I don't know if he really had the weapons or the line for him, but I mean, gosh.
Or the
it was
practice
just,
time. He had more snaps in this game than practice.
it was awful to watch. So those are my losers of the game heading into week 2 of the preseason. Now, last but not least, unless you have something else, Tom, there was something I brought up last week where I said, we scouted a lot of rookies coming into this year. And we looked up a lot of stats, watched a lot of preseason last week. And I said, hey, I want you to come back here with one player that you wish the Steelers could have brought onto their team. And I'm not saying like in replace of a draft pick that we have. I'm just saying if you could take any player that you saw from week 1 preseason, who would that be to take them onto the team? So after week 1, who's that for you?
I think I still got to say someone who I've been kind of boasting to you about, and especially because he got drafted so late. This is a guy that you and I had mocked to be our pick number 32 because we thought there's no way we could get past the first round without drafting cornerback first. Happened to be the other way around. I'm very happy with Broderick Jones, but we thought this would be the only tackle left at pick 32. He ended up going way later to the team I hate the most, but DeJuan Jones is a almost 7-foot tall behemoth, and he has given up 0 pressure so far. And where Broderick has not been looking dominant so far, DeJuan is looking very dominant, going up against very good pass rushers in both the Hall of Fame game and last week. And it sucks to see him do so well. And I knew he'd be good too. It was weird that he kept dropping when they kept talking about, I guess he didn't interview well or people were worried about his attitude. But that shit don't matter now because he is balling out, and I expect him to probably keep doing so, unfortunately.
Oh, I cannot agree more. He looked so good, and I hate to say it because it's the Browns, man, and that's nothing against DeJuan Jones. I mean, he's just doing his job, but
Right.
The fact that he's
Right, yeah.
not allowed any pressures or anything is just like, oh man, how do you get
Mhm.
past that? He's literally a wall. But no, excellent pick. I agree with that one there. I'd say my player who I literally at one point, believe it or not, projected him as a possible first rounder. I knew he was never going to make it because size seemed to be the biggest issue for him. But I definitely could see him as a second or third round talent. Unfortunately for him, he did not get drafted at all. In fact, he was an undrafted free agent, and he went to the Minnesota Vikings. The man I'm talking about is Ivan Pace Jr.
Mhm.
Ivan Pace did a great job. I've been hearing about him all throughout camp and everything, literally just reading about how the Vikings might have found their hidden gem. He's so good. He's getting in all the plays. He's with the linebacker ones. Yeah, I knew he would be. He is so good. He's so fast. He's talented. He accounted for 6 total tackles, 4 solos on there. I mean, he was just all over the place. And size was a non-factor. He is fast and he just shot through gaps and he made plays. So Ivan Pace Jr., I think that's a name that people are going to need to look out for and they'll notice very quickly. But he is the player that I admired in week 1.
Especially when we got to the 7th round of the draft. I know we drafted Corey Trice and we had big aspirations for him, and unfortunately injured again after he had injury history in college. But even the second one, like, no offense to Spencer Anderson, I know the coaches like him, especially with how versatile he is. I hope he is good. I guess he's on our team. But I remember you and I were like,
Yeah,
Ivan Pace is still on the board in the 7th round. You gotta get him, and they didn't get him, and I was
I
shocked. I
agree.
was blown away. I don't know how we didn't get a linebacker. Oh,
Uh,
speaking of linebackers that we wanted, and I didn't look out for it in the game, so I don't know how good he did, was Trenton Simpson from the Baltimore Ravens. Don't know how good he
oh,
did.
gosh. Well, I bet you I
I
can find out really quick
have no
if
idea how
you
he
want to
played.
wrap it up.
But well, Chris is wrapping it up. Why don't we just say, or not? What am I talking about? I'm drunk. While Chris is looking this up, what I want to talk about briefly, real quick, it's just a quick preview of the Bills game. I'm just gonna give you something I'm looking, a quick synopsis of things I'm looking for, and Chris can do the same. Um, for the Bills preseason game this week, this Saturday, here's what I'm looking for. It's week 2 of the preseason. I think the starters should be playing more. I think the Bills starters are gonna be playing. I'm looking to see an improvement from last year when we played the Buffalo Bills because Josh Allen lit us up. So what I'm looking for defensively, I know he couldn't score either. So what I'm looking for defensively from our starters, if they play, if a lot of them play, Pat, Pete, Minka, I don't know who's going to play. I'm hoping some of them do, at least for a little bit, is that they can force Buffalo to punt the ball and Josh Allen to punt the ball. That's what I'm looking for. Even if he gets 1 touchdown, if they come back out for another series, can you stop them at all? That's what I'm looking forward to there for the first team defense. And the first team offense for Kenny, keep doing what you're doing last week. I know a lot of people wanted to still doubt Kenny because the Bucs sat a bunch of their starters. So I want the Bills to play a lot of their starters. The Bills have a solid defense. Can you drive down the field and score? Even if you don't score a touchdown, can you drive down the field? Can you look confident? And now that's going to be an even bigger test because the offense has looked really bad in training camp this week. So I've heard. So can you drive down the field and try to score some points on this Bills defense? Those are the 2 biggest things I'm looking forward to in this game from a start perspective. I don't know how long the starters are going to play, but that is probably like some of the biggest, those 2 narratives, I think, from a starter standpoint.
Very well said. Totally agree. I'm very much looking forward to this next game. It's going to be a telling sign for this team, depending on like who's all playing, how long the starters are out there, everything like that. It's just going to be something to watch. For those of you that do not pay much attention to the preseason, why? That's my question for you. Why don't you? It's literally a time that means nothing, but a time for that means everything. Also at the same time, it's free football. Free, stress-free football for the most part, and you can just see how guys do and how they mold as a team and a unit. It's a very exciting time of the year, and Dom and I are always so excited for it. So pay close attention. Steelers week 2 against the Buffalo Bills coming this Saturday.
And if there's one player to watch out for, if you just want to focus on one guy who I hope gets a lot of reps because he was hurt last week, that would be Joey Porter Jr. I'm really looking forward to see him play, and I hope he gets a lot of reps. We don't want him to get hurt because we have no freaking depth in the cornerback department, but I really hope he gets a lot of playing time. But that will do it for this week. We'll be back next week to talk about that game, talk about players' performances. Hopefully it's a good one. If not, that's okay. This is the time to grow. This is time to work out the growing pains because at the end of the preseason, it's going from 90 to 53. Golly, that's a big-time cut. So we will see you guys next week. You can follow us on all our social media pages. We're on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube. Growing a lot of subscribers on YouTube, surprisingly. So we are on there. We're on Instagram, Twitter. We're on TikTok. OnlyFans. We're on Vine. We're on LimeWire. We're on FrostWire. I'm just kidding. If you torrent our stuff, we will find you and destroy you. That's going to do it for this week. Chris, do you have any last words for the people?
As always, go Steelers.
Goodbye.